Gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. I will be asking questions of both of you. You will both have the opportunity to answer all the questions that are asked of you. And I think we can all agree, though, over the last 18 months, we've had far too much togetherness, happiness, and friendliness, understanding of other people's point of view in this country. What this country needs right now is some sharp disagreement and partisan debates. So gentlemen, feel free to throw some elbows over the next 30 minutes or so. There will also be an opportunity for some of the boxing media here present to ask some questions. But first of all, I would like to give both of you an opportunity to make an opening statement about this upcoming fight. John David Jackson, why don't we start with you?
All right, thank you very much. It's nice to have the press out here, and I'm glad you made it out. The Sergey Kovalev Andre Ward fight is a fight that I'm glad that it was made for a lot of reasons, but one reason is for the fans, because this fight was deserved. You know, in boxing today, there are far too many fights that aren't being made, including some of the best fighters in the world. So when this fight was made, it definitely has two of the best pound-for-pound fighters today going against one another at the peaks of their career, basically. And for that, I'm very happy, because they're both very, very well-schooled fighters. Andre did what he was supposed to at 168 and clean the division out the way he was supposed to. Now it's time to move up and made a new challenge. Sergey Kovalev has tried to fight everybody within his division that he could. Some guys have avoided him, but he's done what he's supposed to do and clean out his division. So the fact that the two fighters are meeting now, the fans deserve this type of fight, and I'm glad that it was made.
Thank you, John. Virgil.
Also, glad to be here today. I think this must be a first trainer debate, so to be in a historical initiation, I guess, if it continues, that's cool in itself. I think Coach Jackson covered it all about the significance of the fight, so I won't have to go into all of that, but glad to be here.
All right, the first question I'd like to ask you both. I think it's fair to say that maybe neither of you was entirely thrilled with the way your charge looked last time out. Maybe it wasn't the best performance for either Andre or for Sergey. Virgil, I'd like to ask you, what did you think about how Sergey Kovalev looked against Isaac Chilemba?
Well, I didn't watch the fight until after our last fight. I didn't take much from it because that's boxing. Isaac Chilemba is not what I consider a mediocre or average fighter. He's right there in the top 5, top 6 at B. So all you can do is just take them at their word that, you know, he went back home. He had a lot of people tugging on him. He had a lot of things that he had to cover. He probably had some distractions, but me personally, I can't pick out anything that would say he needed to look a certain way. I mean, if he has to look a certain way every fight and knock out everybody within 5 rounds in every fight, he's got a lot of pressure on him. So I didn't take much from it other than watching the fight.
And John David Jackson, I think it is fair to say Sergey did have a lot of distractions fighting back in Russia. It was difficult. He changed up his training camp maybe in a way that you would not have liked. Has he learned from that going into this fight?
I think the Chilemba fight was a blessing in disguise for Sergey. Like Virgil alluded to earlier, you know, it wasn't his best fight, but you know, sometimes fighters don't get up for certain fights, and they might overlook their opponent, looking at the next opponent, who's even way better. You know, on the other hand, Chilemba, that was like his lottery, and he definitely got him for it. He did the best he could. He got the best he could get in. Sergey had too many distractions. Friends, family, everybody wanting tickets, trying to promote the fight. But he learned from that mistake. And he realizes going into this fight here, the stakes are way higher. The opponent's more dangerous, has greater ring generalship, undefeated, hasn't tasted defeat in years. And he knew that the things that we did last camp, he couldn't do this camp. He'd just be better around, all prepared. And luckily for him, he learned from that fight. And he needed that kind of fight to make sure that he doesn't have those pitfalls and fall into them this particular fight here.
And similarly, was there anything that you took away from Andre's fight with Alexander Brand, or again, looking at the entirety of Andre's career, was that fight, you feel, something of an anomaly?
I can't take anything away that would give me a sense of security for this fight here. Because once again, like Virgil alluded to, it's not that to me the fight was a fight for rounds to get some of the rust off him, to make him hone his skills a lot better for this fight here. Was it the same kind of opponent? No. But it did one thing for him that he needed. He needed that ring work. You know, did he try for a knockout? I don't know. That's his man, that's his game plan. I can't speak for them. I just know he did what he was supposed to do. He won the fight convincingly, he dominated, maybe he gets a knockout. But listen, that's not his strong suit. He's a tremendously talented, well-schooled fighter. And that's what Virgil's done. So I think, like I said, I can't speak for them, but they're happy with the win. That's what they needed. They got what they needed to get through this fight here. Did he look the best he could have? That's not for me to say, but you know, hey, he did what he was supposed to do and he won, and that's the bottom line.
I wanted to follow on from that. I know that part of the negotiations with making this fight were that both guys had interim fights. You said you were ready to go a year or so ago. Andre said to me yesterday, you guys are going to regret the fact that Andre Ward had the opportunity to have those interim fights. Are you guys going to regret the fact that Andre Ward has had those interim fights?
Listen, that's the fighter, what he feels in his heart, that's what he says. Okay, I can live with that. The fact that he had a fight sits well for them. But the fact that the opponent that he had was not really a world-class caliber opponent. He's good, and but he was what he was. He was an opponent that we're going to get the ring rust out of him for this upcoming fight. So, do I regret that he had that fight? No. He needed that fight, and it's good that he had that. But he's not the fighter that Andre is fighting this coming Saturday. He's a totally different fighter. So, while it worked for him in his favor to get the ring rust off, and he needed that, he's going into this fight and fighting someone totally different. Brand didn't get him ready for that type of opponent, but he got what they needed for that night. And that's all that counts for them. So I highly doubt that our side will be having sorrows for him getting the ring rust off. He needed that, and that's going to serve him well for this fight. The better man will win. That's all I can say.
Virgil, how much did Andre need to have these last couple of fights that he's had this year in order to get himself into a position to fight Sergey?
Well, being the fact that he had been laid off for a while, the rounds were very important. I have to agree, Coach Jackson, about the rounds. He wasn't under any pressure other than to get the rounds in. It does need to be noted that Brand was not our choice. He was our last choice. We had a week to make a decision or lose the date. But we went through 3 top 10 light heavyweight contenders, and they all turned the fight down. So Brand came and stepped up, and we're glad that he did, and he accommodated us. I don't think preparing for a fight you need a certain type of opponent. You can do that preparing for the fight at the gym. You can get 4 sparring partners and get more success out of preparing for somebody than you can a particular opponent, because you can't predict how that opponent is going to show up that night. But during the time of a training camp, you can pretty much get what you want because you have a selection. So as far as preparing for this fight, it's like we always said, we've been preparing for it from the first time he started boxing.
Andre won both of his fights this year comfortably, against Brandon, against Sullivan Barrera. But there are times where he didn't look like Andre. He looked a little bit more, there was less fleet of foot about him. He looked at times like he was trying to go for a one-punch knockout. Not everyone was entirely impressed with the way he looked in either of those fights. John David Jackson thinks that Andre Ward is a fighter in decline. What do you say?
Well, you know what? Each fight is different, and when you have the masses, and so to speak, the critics who need to be impressed by a certain way of victory comes up, that's okay. But the bottom line is, if he looked bad and still won every round, I'll take that. I think we have to remember that we came out of the garage and fought Barrera, who was #1 contender at the time, with a 1.5-year layoff. So it was a dangerous fight until the fight was over. Then Barrera was garbage. You see, Paul Smith fought Abraham toe-to-toe, but he didn't fight us toe-to-toe. So again, you minimize the opponent. So that's just the nature of the game, and we don't pay too much to that, because if you understand the game, nobody's ever going to be satisfied, so you have to be satisfied within yourself. As far as the decline, I mean, if he's on the outside looking in at these particular fights, and if he's expecting to see something that he saw before and didn't see it, then that's what he chose. He chose to say he was on the decline, but there's a lot more that goes into that.
John David Jackson, anything you want to add to that?
Listen, when I say decline, I say it for a lot of different reasons. The decline that I say is when you look at these past 5 years, what he's done, the way he's dominated 168. Like Virgil said, there's certain ways he fights certain fights. He did different things differently. But if you watch it, and you watch it carefully, and maybe for a particular reason, that Virgil maybe done something to change it, but he doesn't do the things that he once did when he was dominating 168. He still does things well, and he does certain things, but it's not the way it once was. And listen, we all go through that in life. We're not the same we were 5 years ago. So it's not like I'm trying to say it in a bad way. I'm just being honest with what I see. Like you said, from my vision, what I see. They may not see the same thing. I just see, and on the flip side, you can say that Sergey is on the decline. He's 33. His prime is there too. But he's a puncher. He's not a boxer. He doesn't use his legs as much. He doesn't have to. He has to be smart, cut the ring off, use his legs to do different things to make the fight easier for him. So when I say I see the decline in Andre, I see certain things. But you know what? On that night, they may not show. He may do something totally different. We have to be prepared for whatever he brings to us. So what I may see may not materialize come fight night. So we have to be prepared for different things. But I just say that because that's what I see. It's a slow decline. It's not fast. It's not rapid. All boxers go through it. If you've been around boxing, you understand the game. It happens to every fighter eventually. His is a slow decline. I'm not saying he got old all of a sudden he's going to lose his fight because he got old. He's far from that. He's in the prime of his life. He's doing things well. It's just something that I see and I've watched. He doesn't do it quite well or the way he did before 5 years ago. And that's all I mean by that. You take it the way you want to. It's just what I see. I'm entitled to give my opinion in the sport. And that's just what I see. They can't take it bad, anybody, unless they want to. Just what I see.
I do know that both of you have a lot of respect for the other guy's fighter. Neither of you think that this is going to be an easy fight either way. I would like to give you both the opportunity, beginning with you, John David, to say what you think the biggest strength is that Andre Ward is going to bring into the ring against you on Saturday night. And also, in as much as you're prepared to say it right here, what you think his most exploitable weakness is.
Andre has a lot of strengths. When you look at him, if you really study him, he's a well-schooled fighter. He listens to everything that Virgil preaches, and he definitely absorbs it. And the one beautiful thing that I've noticed from him is he trusts Virgil. If you can trust your trainer, that speaks volumes for you, because you're going to listen to everything he tells you to do. So whatever game plan Virgil devises, he's going to follow. Not only he won't follow that if he gets clipped. When you get clipped, listen, and you get hit by a shot, it's going to throw your game plan off a little bit. And he hasn't really had that. He's been able to do everything that Virgil has devised for him. And he's a very technically sound fighter. So his ring generalship is wonderful. His ability to be able to maneuver around the ring. It's a thing of beauty if that's what you like. And I love that because that's what I did. I kind of, when I really studied Andre these past few weeks, I had a greater appreciation for what he does because I looked at him and said, his style was similar to mine. I was busy in my fights. I was very calculated in my moves. I set traps for my opponents. So once I started watching, I break him down and say, I like what he does. He's a very smart, intelligent guy. So I began to understand him better. His all-around ring generalship is great. He's very smart, very intelligent kid. He maneuvers his opponents in positions that they don't know why the hell they're there. But when he hits them and he's not there, they don't understand it. So you can never take him. If you take him lightly, then you're lost right there. I won't going to the second part of your question, because that's for the fight on Saturday. But listen, once I really studied Andre and Virgil, I had to step back and give them all the credit they deserve. You know, I kind of sold them short a couple years back. But once they did one thing for me that I loved. They gave me a lot of video, not from them, but on YouTube. It gave me a chance to really study them. And I had to step back and say, no, let me, not because he's here, but just that's one the way it is. I had to give them the credit they deserve. Their team together, they had such a cohesiveness, and together they truly believe in one another. And so I had to step back and really look at that and say, let me give them the credit they deserve, and let me come up with a game plan that's going to help my fighter to be victorious that night, because if I don't, we're in trouble. It's a dangerous fight, and you know, like I said, I sold them short at the beginning because there wasn't much stuff on them back when I first was watching. But now with modern technology allowed me to really study them, and I give them the respect they deserve, because they definitely, as a team, can't touch them. They're great. But I think myself that, and I believe I have a fighter that can change that. They got a great thing going. I just think I have a kid who has the power, and people sell him short as a boxer, a technician to cut the ring off and make guys engage. I just think at this point I have a fighter that can do that. But I give them the utmost respect of what they've done, because they deserve it.
Virgil, same question to you. What do you think are the greatest strengths of Sergey Kovalev that you're going to have to deal with on Saturday?
Well, you know, one thing we can't make a mistake on in boxing is living in has happened instead of living in what's happening. You know, and so bringing it to this moment with Sergey, should be noted I was a Kovalev fan, you know, to the point of the 19th, and I'll probably be a Kovalev fan after the 19th. So if I had to take his strength, of course, his right hand. It's his strength, the way he sets it up. You know, he likes to go to the body with his jab. He sets it up. He also tips it off a lot when he's setting it up. That's the only thing I can say. He's got a devastating right hand, but he tips it off when he sets it up. And if you tip it off, look, I've seen guys go into Sergey and they beat before the bell rang. Either they beat or they have nuts and delusional like Pascal or somebody like that, you know. So they halfway beat, you know, they lay down. I look at the Salik fight, he hit him in the back of the neck, barely landed, and he went down. I looked at the Baker, I don't know, he hit him with a little right hand and he went down. So we have to take Sergey at what he is, a big, powerful puncher. Have I ever seen him KO somebody with one shot? No. A Thomas Hearns shot? No, I haven't seen that. I've seen the accumulation of punches. You're not going to be able to accumulate punches on Andre like that. So I think it's going to be a very interesting fight, because each fighter is going to have to come out of who people might think they are or who people hope they are. I think Coach Jackson has a critical eye. I have a creative eye. So sometimes he wants it, he hopes it goes that way. Because I get the sense, you know, I've been 33 years in a probation department, one of the best interrogators in the state of California. I'm very in tune to body language, very in tune to tones of voices and things like that. And from what I hear, from what I see, I would feel safe to say it's a lot of disarray in that camp. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if even Coach Jackson is getting the respect that he's due in the camp. But time will tell. For instance, why do we have to make an excuse for him in Russia for selling tickets and things? I take you at your word, but don't you have a team that could have took care of that? You're supposed to have a team to take care of that and take the pressure off the fighter, you see? So he doesn't have to go around tickets. You minimize the pressure. You know what you're facing when you get there. So you have to be prepared. But me, I'm gonna take you at your word that this is what happened. But at the same time, my interrogating sense, my mind-slaying sense says it's disarray in the camp. That there's some things that's going on in that camp in that relationship that might not be what it appears to the public. I can sense that. Maybe I'll be wrong. Will it be a factor in the fight? I don't know. But if it's a point where Sergey has to make adjustments, and if it's a point where he has to really listen to Coach Jackson, really? Will he trust him, or will he continue to trust himself? Because Abel Sanchez said himself, he does it his way. So what's going to happen? And there's going to be times that's going to happen. So will he trust Coach Jackson's tutelage, or will he lean on his own understanding? I don't know. All I know is that we're in with a dangerous fighter. We know he's dangerous. Give him all his due. I give Coach Jackson his due for his development. When he came to him, you can't take nothing away from him. And we're just prepared for Saturday.
Something you'd like to say in response to that by any chance?
Well, listen, I respect his opinion. I respect the way he says it. But if you watch Sergey's fight, with the exception of the last fight, yes, he tries to sell tickets on his own. You're in Russia, you want to please everybody. You have a team that sells tickets for you. But he's trying to he just wants to make everybody happy. Everybody's going to come to main events or ticket box office get tickets. That's all he tried to do. He didn't try to make it become the promoter and sell tickets on his own. Far from that. He's got excited being home in Russia trying to sell tickets. That was his fault. He realized that. This fight here, he's not trying to sell one ticket. He's back in America. He let his team sell his tickets the way they're supposed to. He let the public buy the tickets at the box office, online, where you can get it at. So his only problem for the last fight was he was home. He was trying to please everybody. But not the whole nation, just his people within his hometown. He understands that. If for this fight, he can't do the same thing. He has to let his team do their job. So, lesson well learned for the last fight. As far as the fact that he listened to me come fight night, if you watch any of his fights, he listens more to me because he realizes that I have the experience. I've won 2 world titles. I've chewed that same dirt that he's chewing now. So, every fight, he may try to do things his way, but it's all said and done. Everything that I prepare for him and I devise for him, he does it that way. He does it exactly to a T the way he's supposed to. The last fight, that fight, he wanted to, well, I said, he got caught up in all I want to please my hometown fans. I want to get a knockout. And once he dropped, so he kind of got excited. That fight, that same fighter, you will not see Saturday. Because all those people that were cheering him on back then, they're back on Russia. There's no pressure. He's here. This fight is on neutral territory. Andre is the American fighter, but it's on neutral territory. So there won't be that added pressure for this fight that he had the last fight. The fight at home was the worst thing he could have done. Because he hasn't fought in a while, he wanted to please everybody. Here, in reality, he wants to please one person, Sergey Kovalev. He wants to knock Andre out. Well, whether he gets a knockout or a decision victory, that's all he needs. He doesn't need to worry about the knockout. If the knockout comes, it comes. If it doesn't, guess what? We're prepared to go 12 hard rounds to get a victory by decision. So the fight that he had last fight, the things that went on in his last camp, they're not happening in this camp. He understood his shortcomings for that fight. And he's definitely said, you know what, let me step back and let every person in my camp do their job to make me a better fight on November 19th so that I can get the victory that he so badly wants. So you won't see the same fighter or the same problems that he had his past fight.
Virgil, Sergey Kovalev says that Andre is a dirty fighter. He says that if Andre tries to hold him on Saturday night, he'll break his hands. What's your thoughts on that?
I believe somebody probably told him to say that he's a dirty fighter. Because, you're going the whole 8-9 weeks. Then all of a sudden you're a dirty fighter. Sergey will learn one day not to be everybody's robot and do what they tell him to do and ask him what to do. And when he does that and realizes that, people, this is not back in the 60s and the 50s anymore, Say this, say that, make it interesting. So he says it. He's loyal, right? He doesn't even sound like him. Or even just, he's alluded so much to respect for the opponent. Just like the handshaking thing. I know good and well he didn't say that. That's not even in his character. That's his promoter saying that. To try to drum up interest. Oh, that's like weak water under the bridge, It's nothing. But as far as if he kicks him, he'll get kicked back. Simple as that. He'll get kicked back. Because he's going to find out he ain't the stronger fighter there, contrary to what most people think. So he'll get kicked back. And if you want to take it any further, we'll go further. So it's up to the referee and everybody to do it. Andre's not a dirty fighter. But if you look at the fights where he's responded, it's because somebody was doing something to him. Sakio Bika, everybody knows what Sakio Bika is about. Well, you're just not going to think you can come in because, see, Andre went to the A-Leagues with 16 fights. Fought Miranda when he was Miranda with 16. Kessler with 19 fights. If you look at all the other guys, you look at who they fought at 19 fights, you can't even remember the name. Or you don't even know who it is. So the idea is that they didn't know his background. They didn't know where he's from. You got this nice-looking kid. He has this soft, even demeanor. So let me go. I know I can't outbox you, so let me go in here and try to rough you up. Well, he beat you at your own game. Edwin Rodriguez, he tried the same thing. Charging across the ring, thought he was the bigger fighter, stronger fighter. We all know what happened to him, and that was coming off surgery that had us out a whole year. So he's not a dirty fighter, but he'll get with you, you know. And that started all over in Europe when Kessler came over here and got beat up, and just realized it was another level to the game. A young kid who didn't care about your reputation, didn't care about who they said you was. He just wanted that belt by any means necessary. So that's what it is. So if he comes to that, he's gonna find out that he's got a real hard person. So let's don't let the backgrounds and all these things fool people, okay? And it's really irresponsible to even say something like that. Now, on the last note, again, I say it's disarray in the camp. We fight at home a lot. Never had no ticket problem, never had people tugging on us, pulling on us, and telling them because the team takes care of that. So I just want the best Andre Ward, the best Sergey. Look, Sergey wins that fight. All my respect goes to Coach Jackson, Sergey. If we win, it still goes there because they can't be great unless they fight each other. You know, and sometimes two people come out of a situation like that great. And we know it, and I wish the best for both of them, regardless of what happens. I wish the best for Coach Jackson. The coaching fraternity is a very tough fraternity. We're the first one to get the blame. You know, we get fired. The fighter will never take full responsibility for his shortcomings. We always get the blame. The fighter always has other people in his ear, you know, always showing, telling him it's a better way. So I understand what he goes through as a coach. And I respect the coaching fraternity because it's very tough. And I'm down with him 100% on that. So it's nothing negative coming from me on that part at all. So we just look forward to Saturday.
Is Andre a dirty fighter? Are you concerned about some of his holding? And did you tell Sergey to say that?
Well, you know, Sergey, those things that Sergey sees and Sergey feels, you can't take that from him, that he has a mind of his own. I wouldn't say that Andre's a dirty fighter. Holding is not a dirty tactic. It's a smart tactic. It buys you time and puts your fighter in a position to do things that he wants to do. So I haven't seen anything that Andre does that's dirty. So that's what Sergey sees and what Sergey feels. I don't think anybody put in his head, it's just what he sees as an individual. So I can't speak on that, and I'm not going to say that Andre's a dirty fighter. I don't see where he's ever been penalized, points been taken away, and he just does what he does that works for him. If it's holding or suffocating opponent, is a holding sometimes maybe too excessive to a degree, but it works for him, and he comes up victorious, so that's not being dirty. So I'm not going to say he's dirty, because that's far from the truth, and I'm not going to try to degrade him like that. Like Virgil said, you know, he said it well. Trainers are the ones that get blamed for a fighter's shortcomings. We're the first ones, we're the last to be hired, but the first to be fired, because we get all the blame when some guy doesn't decide to do what he's supposed to do, but they point fingers at us. And I understand that, and I appreciate the fact that he even said that. This is going to be a good fight very good fight between two of the best fighters today. I know that they trained well for this fight and they definitely prepared. On the other side, on the flip side of the coin, we knew going in this was the fight to make Sergey become a household name. His name's good, but being a fighter like Andre Ward makes him better. I knew this fight was going to happen. I knew they'd be in a collision course and fight one another because I knew Andre was going to clean out 168, and eventually he had no place to go but up. I knew once he got there, Sergey would be there waiting for him. So now this is a fight that had to be made. It's a fight that definitely is deserved for the fans to see. You know, there's been talk on both sides going back and forth, but come Saturday, all that's over with. You have two very good fighters, one very good fight, and we'll see who's the best man. And like Virgil said, when it was a draw, I still congratulate him. And hey, he's a hell of a person, he's a hell of a trainer, and he deserves the respect that he's getting. I can't knock him and say anything bad about him. So this fight is about two good fighters. Whatever they have going on, if they dislike each other, that's boxing. You know, there's a little animosity going on, but that's the nature of the sport. It's a good fight, and if Andre is dirty, I haven't seen it. Maybe my fighter's seen something I haven't seen. It's not dirty when what it does. It's very calculated. It's not the most exciting thing when you hold and grab. But listen, these things work for Andre. What they do is they frustrate his opponent. It's his opponent's fault if he can't, you know, do something different to make Andre stop doing that. With Sergey, there's just certain things that Sergey has to do to make this fight go his way. You know, if plan A doesn't work, then you go to a different plan. But you don't have 5 or 6, 7 plans. If you have all those plans, something's wrong with you. That's too many plans for a fight. You know, listen, after about the third plan, your man is going to win, he's going to lose. Can't go to plan A. Now, I'm not saying that they said that. I'm just saying people have said it in the past. This is a very good fight, and it's intriguing because you have two guys that are so closely matched. One really doesn't have an advantage over the other in any category. One might have a small lead, but they're almost both right there. And that's what this fight's going to treat. The only, and I'm not underestimating this man's fighter, the only place I see is the power. Now they say Sergey has a great right hand. He has 2 strong hands. And maybe he has not knocked anybody out with one punch knockout power. But I guarantee if you ask any fighter he's fought, can Sergey punch? They say, man, I didn't even punch that hard. So he may not catch him and clip him one shot, but he's gonna get him out of there. So, you know, for us, it's nice. And I don't know if you're gonna take the wrong or not, but if they think it's just the right hand to worry about, I'm happy with that. I'll take that. Just worry about the right hand. But it's gonna be a very interesting fight. Andre is very, very well schooled, very well crafted, very well educated in boxing. And outside, you know, he's an all-rounder guy. So I love what they're doing. And hey, I didn't give him the credit I gave before, but once I started watching him, he's a bad boy right there. He can fight. So it's the kind of fight Sergey needs and Sergey wants. And you know, I think that we can meet the task at hand. It's just a fight that it's a must-see fight because they're both going to answer questions that the others have raised. And when who has the best answer to solve the riddle, that is either Andre Ward or Sergey Kovalev.
The last question that I want to ask you before we give some of the members of the media an opportunity to ask a question or two is, you talk about how evenly matched these guys are, and I think I think it's generally considered that this is one of the closest pay-per-view main events on paper that we've had for a long time, and perhaps because of that, there's been a lot of talk about mental toughness and how important that is going to be in this fight. And I wonder if each of you in turn could take a little time to talk about what you see in terms of the mental toughness of both your guys and why you think your guy is perhaps a little better prepared to dig deep when necessary on Saturday night. And John David Jackson, maybe we'll start with you and then go to Virgil.
Mental toughness is needed in any fight. Sometimes, you know, your mental toughness can make you or break you. If you're not strong mentally and your opponent's doing things to you that you can't deal with, you know, you might have a mental breakdown and then the fight's lost. You know, you lose your fight plan and you get desperate and wild and then you're lost. You know, I can't speak for Andre because I don't know Andre, I don't know him that well. But from everything that I've heard about, he's talked about, Virgil's talked about, to come where to be able to come from where he came from, to be here today, he has to be mentally tough. And I tip my hat off to him. I can't knock him. I'm not gonna say anything bad about him because I don't know how he did, but I've heard that it was rough. And to be coming from rough beginning like that, to be where he is today, to be the man that he is, that speaks volumes. So he has to have mental toughness. So I'm not gonna sit and say, oh, he's mentally weak when we break him down. It's not that. Sergey's mentally tough. If you've seen where he's come from, he didn't have what you have. At least in America, you have subsidies, you have a program, you have something. In Russia, you're either rich or you're poor. And if you're poor, you're dirt poor. I've been there 3 times. It's rough. So the kids that grow up in Russia, when they grow up in poverty, it's 10 times worse than America. Because in America, you have ways and means to get by. The government will help you in certain ways. So his mental toughness is definitely there. The way he grew up is it made him live today. He's definitely mentally tough, and like I said, but knowing where he's coming from doesn't make me shortchange what Andre's gone through. Will it boil down to the mental toughness? To a degree. But what's inside here? How bad do you want it? How bad do you want to be the best? That's going to be it. It goes on to mental, but who wants the most? Who wants to be number one? What are you willing to do to be number one? Without cheating, not going along the lines of doing anything dirty, but what are you willing to do? How much punishment are you willing to take to be that person? Here to get his hand raised. How much can you take? Are you willing to sit in the pocket and stay there and take that kind of punishment because you're trying to deliver that kind of punishment? So it's a lot of things to be answered for both fighters that night. And will it boil down to mental toughness? A part of it will. But I can't speak about Andre because from everything I see, what he's come and what he's done in the ring, it shows me that he has that. And I'm not going to sell that short and say, he's a pretty fighter, he tries to do things real slick. Listen, everything he's accomplished, it takes blood, sweat, and tears, and mental toughness. So, I give him that respect he deserves. Virgil?
Well, certainly considering both fighters' backgrounds and how they came up, suggests that, they emerged out of that situation, which would suggest that they're mentally tough. Up to this point, we haven't seen either one of them have to really dig down deep in the ring yet. Sergey's been dominant in the way he goes about it. Andre's been dominant in the way he's gone about it. So we haven't seen that manifest itself in the ring yet, where, one of them has to get up and keep fighting, or vice versa, because of the dominance. But certainly the background says that they are mentally tough for the things that they have overcome in life to get to this point today. That is evident. Again, in the ring, we haven't seen it, and I hope I never see it. So that will show itself at some point, I guess. You hang around this game long enough, it'll show its point, or if somebody's so dominant that you have to go there. If it comes to that, do I believe that he will exhibit mental toughness? Yes, without a doubt. I believe he will exhibit that. Do I believe Kovalev will exhibit it? I'm quite sure he'll exhibit it also. So that's the makings of a great fight.
Before we go, I think we have a wireless mic to pass around members of the media who want to ask any questions.
A question for Mr. Jackson. Is there a possibility that, for you, that Sergey can win this on points against Andre?
Almost definitely. Listen.
How does he win it on points?
This person has to be smart. You have to be able to. Take Andre's weakness and his strong suits and nullify that. You have to be able to expose his weak points, and a combination of both is certainly going to do to make him engage. He throws a lot of things at you. He sets a lot of traps for you. He makes small movements to set these traps for you. You have to be able to set the thing that he's going to do and make him work a little harder. It's an intriguing fight because Andre he's very smart.
One of the things that Virgil did just now, he got into you a little bit and you could see your discomfort with it, and he put it in a very eloquent way. which was that perhaps Sergey's not easy to train, and that sometimes you're almost a pad man for him, that he isn't listening to strategy, he isn't listening to game plan.
Well, no, listen, first thing to get my head. I'm very comfortable here. I kind of laughed at a few things he said, but
What did you laugh at?
well, you know, that Sergey doesn't listen to me. Sergey, you know, does what he wants to do. A lot of factor in it. But come fight night, listen, he might be in camp and there might be certain things that he wants to do. So what I do a lot of times, I work off what he wants to do and then I implement my game plan along with that to make it better for him. So, and that's just Sergey. Sergey, he's, you know, I give fighters, I let them look for themselves. I say, watch your opponent. Tell me what you want to do. If you see something that you would like to do you think works for you, I can work with that. 'Cause I'm just going to work around that thing and make you better. So, you know, it's as far as in our listening camp, he does listen. You know, the trust factor is there for us. We've been here for 5 years, not along Virgil and Andre. But in 5 years, he's more than trusted me because every game plan that I've laid out for him works. Everyone's worked to a T. So I'm far from, I'm not up here, I feel like I'm have jitters. No, that's his opinion, and he can say that, but the kid listens to me.
Final one from me. Obviously, Virgil, John David Jackson fought at world title level, I think it's for 8-9 years in his career, defended the WBO, I think it was the WBO light middleweight 6 times, wasn't it? 6 times?
Yes, sir.
And so you have to give him the credit that he deserves in that way, but are you overseeing in Andre Ward someone who is fighting a limited fighter in Sergey Kovalev, whatever Mr. Jackson can give him?
No, not at all. That would be foolish to put limitations on the opponent. I believe that he is everything that they say he is, and you better be. So I'm not here. It would be foolish to minimize him and his and his accomplishments. So no, not at all.
Question for Virgil, right here, middle. We've kind of seen your training strategies like with Amir Khan and the mentalities going into your other fighters. With Andre, is there a certain preparation you have for him that's separate from other fighters in your camp? Or is it just business as usual with all of them?
Well, you know, to have someone from the beginning, it gives you a certain advantage as you grow together. When you inherit another fighter, you inherit another 2 or 3 coaches' work, and it takes time. If you have a vision for that fighter to get better, it takes time for that to materialize. And then I've got guys who've come and I can see why they're in the predicament that they're in. I mean, they have terrible work habits. They don't even know how to eat right. I've seen a couple of fighters, I was shocked that they got as far as they got, you know, without the discipline, without the structure. So I try to impart that. The hardest job is to take another fighter that's been on top and then to try to, if he has a loss and he makes a change and he comes to you, is to try to get him back on the winning trail. And so you have to troubleshoot. You have to look for the little things first that he wasn't doing and bring that into focus. And then also bring the physical part of it into focus. So, but with Andre, it was an advantage to have him at 9. It's just like I just put a super heavyweight on the Olympic team with 9 fights. And he went to the last tournament and didn't qualify the weight because the experience factor. But the fact was that he started from scratch, from the root to the fruit. And he went up there with 9 fights. Everybody else had over 60, and he just walked right through it. I think the guy, Damani Rupp, knocked him out. So, you know, I just like Coach Jack. If I can get you from the beginning, you're my type of athlete, you have that structure, you have that discipline, I believe we can win. So I've proven that with him as well as I've proven it with Andre. So, but to inherit other fighters who are good and great and had their moment and they want to come back, it's not an easy job. But we do it because, we love the sport. But ideally, I would like to be, Mike Stafford, who's very overlooked. If you look at Mike, he's got 3 world champions that he started from kids. They were amateur champions, and now they're world champions. Robert Easter, Rasheed Warren, and then, of course, Adrian has been a world champion. So when you see that, you kind of can understand what I'm saying.
And in regards to the fight, I interviewed Andre a few years ago, and for him, he really doesn't have high highs or low lows. He's an even kill guy, and he has a base around him. He talks about Christianity being the reason that he's able to keep at that level. I saw a lot of people had flack with that, talking about God and Son of God, which is kind of interesting. But in a fight like this, is it good for a fighter to have a little bit of anger going into it, or is that not good for someone to get off of what they're doing in the first place?
I don't think it's healthy for a fighter to go into a fight angry. I think it's dangerous for him to go into a fight angry. I mean, I would rather have him highly competitive and with a strong desire to win than angry, because that's when you can make mistakes. As far as his faith is concerned, that's his personal thing and his foundation. And anybody who has that foundation in faith can attest to that type of relationship. If anybody comments on it that does not have a knowledge of the Word of God, or does not have a knowledge of that personal relationship, then they wouldn't understand anyway, and it almost would be ridiculing the person for whatever personal reason that you might have for him. But it's served him well through all the things that he's gone through in the past 3-4 years. It was his foundation and that belief that kept him strong and stable and bringing him to this point today.
All right, I'm going to thank the media for asking those questions. I'm going to thank you both very much indeed for being here. I know you've given up plenty of time. Do you have just a quick 1-minute closing statement that you guys would like to make? First of all, Virgil.
Well, I'm glad to be here once again in Las Vegas, and a fight of this magnitude. I think we'll do better than most people anticipate. I've read a lot of articles where they doomed the success of the fight as far as viewership is concerned before it happened, which I think is unfair to the fighters. Instead of just getting behind them and drumming it up, the negativity continuously exists, but I guess it's part of the sport. And I wish, Saturday night Coach Jackson well that both of these kids go home healthy to their families, no matter what the outcome is, and that they live to fight another day and continue to be successful.
John David.
I just want to thank me and Vince and Rock Nation getting together to make this fight happen. I want to thank Andre for accepting the challenge and for Sergey to accept the challenge. It's a great fight, and it's the fight of the year that deserves to be. I'm so glad it was made. Not because I'm a part of it. I'm glad I'm a part of it. But for me, it's the fans deserve to see fights like this. And there's so few that aren't made. So few fights that are ever made like this. And they're both at the prime of their careers, and they're two of the best fighters in boxing today. Whether it's for pound or whatever, they're just the best. Forget that mythical title. There are two fighters that step in to fight one another. And in today's boxing, it's a rare thing. They don't do it enough. And I'm not going to blame the fighters. There's a lot more that goes into it than just the fighters not wanting to fight each other. But I love this fight. Like I said, once I start watching Virgil and Andre together, I'm going for great appreciation of the team. And it makes me strive even harder with Sergey to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row lined up for this fight, because it's going to be a very good fight, a very strategical, hard-fought fight. And I just look forward to the challenge that they bring to the table. So I just want everybody to put the word out to buy it, to see it, however you got to do it, because it's going to be a truly great fight. How great it's going to be, only those two will make that determination. But on paper, it's a very good fight.
Well, thank you all for joining us.
Face forward, guys.
Heated confrontation.